My thoughts have evolved a great deal since the last series. Furthermore, my mindset has been refocused and centered on a new concept, and that concept involves nurturing the idea that we must go back to the basics. With so many layers to faith, so many scandals and distractions, it's easy to get lost into what matters. So in Series 1, The Family, I attempted to introduce a new way of identifying that there is a realm outside of our own. I wanted to make it clear that our world did not just happen by chance. Our world was uniquely designed by a divine creator. The second series, The Way, was an attempt to reintroduce Yeshua's main objective without the help of what we call Christianese. Yeshua is bigger than your religion. He is the way to eternal life. So in this series, it's time to spark a movement. Just like several generations in the past, there is always a group that emerges from the masses with a new way of living, an awakening of some kind, a revelation on how humans should have been coexisting in the first place. And sometimes it helped for the better, and unfortunately, sometimes it resulted in chaos. However, in this case, my attempt is to introduce a concept that can help believers not only become stronger witnesses for Yeshua, but it is also my desire to identify distractions that have turned us away from the true purpose of the kingdom. Our mentality has to shift from a selfish survival instinct and slowly evolve to a more inclusive mindset. Today we start the journey of finding our way back home. A slow and steady regression, making a dramatic shift in humanity. What are we trying to initiate? What are we looking to manifest here on earth? What are we striving to encourage the generation now and after to participate in? We are calling every man, woman, boy and girl, from every race, ethnicity, tribe, tongue, and religion to respond to the call. What is the call? What is the call? Welcome to Series 3, entitled The Great Regression.
Chapter 1. Correction. History seems to repeat itself. A never-ending pattern of power struggle, protests, war, and enlightenment. And at the end of each generation, there also seems to be a progression, catapulting us to a new way of living, a new way of thinking. And although each generation has its challenges, it seems that the more and more we advance as a human species, a great majority becomes more aware of how important it is to preserve our existence. If we look back in time and compare it to now, the value of life on Earth has drastically changed for the better. And there was once a time when the marginalized were tortured and murdered for recreational sport, such as the Olympics. Seeing people die at the hands of a wild animal was exciting back then. And what we now see as inhumane, illegal, or terrorism, it was considered as normal as watching entertainment in your local stadium or arena or TV. It used to be common that babies were sacrificed. And rape was a part of the culture, but eventually, a change of perspective happened. Humans began to evolve in their thinking, realizing that maybe we shouldn't kill other humans for pure Olympic sport. And unfortunately, the heart of humans still had its flaws and fair share of evil. And although they no longer wanted to kill people for sport, they still needed a way to feed the beast innocent blood. So instead of making a sport, they needed to find ways to create legislation to justify their evil desires. And in their minds, they figured, if I can't kill for fun, I would make people believe that other groups broke the law and they don't deserve to live. And I will make the color of their skin a crime punishable by death. And I will make their religious belief a danger to society. They evolved from killing for fun to killing because of evil legislation, burning people alive or hanging them, sparking fear in their children, forcing compliance. And anyone who chose to rebel was punished. And anyone who complied became part of the system. And protests and wars began, fighting for equality. The conclusion of it all brought forth more positive evolution and enlightenment. And we then began to understand that the law should protect everyone from torture. The law should hold everyone accountable for their actions. And murder should not be the way of life, and one group should not conquer the other group. And even in our present state, we see how far we have come, yet so far from where we need to be. Peeling back layers of corruption, we can see that humans have, and even still, will create God in their own image. In one's mind, they assume that if I can convince others that God thinks like me, it's possible they will follow my agenda. And as the famous saying says, if you tell a lie long enough, it later becomes the truth. Truth is what we seek on a daily basis, yet so many obstacles that hinder us from finding it. The funny thing about religion is that it shapes our worldview, and it creates a bubble that only allows one to consider their own perspective, and while demonizing anyone who might have additional insight on the world around them. Although they may have great intentions, division is almost inevitable. So how did this begin? Why was it necessary for religion in the first place? Regression. A movement we must embrace as a culture.
Regression.
And with this culture, it frees us from the shackles of man-made religion. Regression allows us to think critically and spiritually about how we got here, and why we are here, and who put us here. We are on a rotating planet, filled with resources to sustain life, and we must find out the aching question: who is the one true God? And if God exists, what happens after death? And if there is indeed life after death, does what I do now affect my eternity? These questions motivate all religions. These questions create differences of opinions, which in result create differences of religion. And with differences of religion comes division. And with division, it breeds hatred and war. And as we regress, everyone has a seat at the table. Let's combine our resources. Let's acknowledge the fact that we have never seen God. And the only proof we have that God exists is His creation. And the testimonies of those who were convinced that a man named Yeshua rose from the dead. And Muslims believe that he was a great teacher. The Jews believe that he was a rabbi. And the Hindus believe he was an enlightened teacher. The Baha'i faith believed he was a prophet. And the Buddhist believes he was an enlightened teacher as well. And when Yeshua asked his disciples, "Who do others say I am?" the disciples replied that he was the prophet Elijah coming back from the dead. But Yeshua's followers proclaimed he was the Son of God. God with us, Emmanuel. And Yeshua seems to be known in every religion, every denomination or sect. It's a universal agreement that he existed. So as we regress, let's examine the evidence together and to further understand why Yeshua is who he proclaimed to be. Before Abraham and Moses, before creation of all things on earth and heaven, Yeshua was, is the great I